Hi and welcome. It is now the 28th year, can you believe it? The 28th year of Boscov's Berks Jazz Fest, and this is your Backstage Pass made possible by the Berks Arts Council. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Jo Painter, and our premier guest of the 28th season is none other than the voice of Boscov's Berks Jazz Fest. If you're wondering what is the face behind the voice, or who is the face, here he is, Michael Tozzi. Michael, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure.
That was a great introduction.
Was it?
I appreciate that.
It's always a pleasure to see you, and you have, shall we say, a jazz journey in your life, I think.
Oh, it's been a long journey.
So let's just introduce you a little bit, and I can briefly say, you know, Michael, you've been in broadcasting. You cut your teeth, shall we say, in broadcasting as an announcer, a program director, WJJZ. Of course, the radio industry changed drastically, and you now have iJazz Global and iJazz Cafe.
Yes, and we signed on back in 2013, JJZ. We are now on the internet. Believe it or not, we broadcast from the Berks Jazz Fest studios. They are the sponsor of the studios.
Wait, tell me who's we? Explain that a little bit.
Well, actually, me.
Okay.
Me. We is iHeartRadio.
Right.
iHeartRadio has a great reach, and with that, we help John Ernesto and the Berks Arts Council with the Berks Jazz Festival that runs the 6th through the 15th of April, which is a pretty big deal. It's 10 days, and it's a lot of acts coming through town, 100 different acts over the 10-day period, which is pretty robust. It's the biggest festival in the world. I don't think there's anything that's longer than that. Yeah, I don't think that there's a festival that's longer, that runs longer than the Berks Jazz Fest. 10 days. It started out, as you know, being from this area, as a weekend event, and it grew from there. They saw the potential. This area, Reading, Berks County, is really a wonderful area to hold a festival. You don't deal with the things that affect festivals or events in big cities.
Such as?
Unions, I think, is one thing that has a potential effect on doing things. You have a lot of people, especially here in the Reading Berks County area, volunteers who I think are the backbone of this festival and always have been in 28 years. I don't think that that's ever changed. And the Berks Arts Council and the Berks Jazz Festival, beyond that, really take that into consideration, and they treat their volunteers with a great amount of respect, which they should. It's
so nice that you give them a shout out, and we will be meeting some of those volunteers from, I want to say lifelong, and maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but really people who have been with Boscov's Berks Jazz Fest for the entirety, or nearly that. So nice to give them a shout out.
I've seen a lot of them over the years, and I've been doing this not for all 28 years, but a good portion of that. And I've seen a lot of the same faces over and over again, and they do it for the love of the music and the love of the people, which is really great.
Your role has changed this year, because you have been involved with this throughout the, not all of it, but most of the tenure of Boscov's Berks Jazz Fest. But this year you are the voice. What does that mean?
Well, you know, I never think of it that way, although it's been made somewhat official, I guess, I'm the ambassador now to the Berks Jazz Festival. But I've been here for John Ernesto, as we discussed earlier, and the Berks Jazz Festival, to do whatever I can to help make this the biggest jazz festival in the world. And a lot of people, especially the artists that come here, they feel the same way. They love coming here to Reading, Berks County, and they love spending time here. Rick Braun, for example, grew up in the Allentown area and is a big favorite here. And of course, this year we had the passing of Chuck Loeb last year, who was a great gentleman and a wonderful performer, and had been a big part of the Berks Jazz Festival for many, many years. We're going to be doing a tribute to
huge tribute. That's going to be something.
Chuck Loeb, and there are so many artists that are involved. I would suggest that if you don't have your tickets yet, get them right away.
Yes.
BerksJazzFest.com.
That is good advice. Thank you.
Yeah. I was told early on, right after the tickets went on sale back in December, early December, that a number of the shows were close to being sold out already. So I would suggest that you don't wait till the last minute to try to get your tickets and then become disappointed, because there are a lot of great shows like the David Benoit, Marc Antoine show. There's the tribute to Chuck Loeb, the Berks Bop show. There's so many different facets of this festival over 10 days with local high schools and colleges performing.
Education's a big component of
Yes.
this festival, and sharing that. Good advice with getting your tickets. You can get them at
tickets early.
Ticketmaster, go to Boscov's BerksJazzFest.com and get those tickets, or you will be without a seat. We have a sort of lightning round, if you will.
Sure.
And it's all that jazz.
I'll see if I can pass the test.
I think you can, because there's no right or wrong answer. So I think you've aced it already.
There you go.
So now,
Perfect.
you will see Michael throughout the duration of the festival. You will be emceeing a number of performances. I believe you're hosting the auction as well, which is another big event. But I've got to ask you, Michael, what does jazz mean to you?
It's improvisation. We've been doing this on kind of an offshoot of straight ahead jazz with smooth jazz for many, many years. I got to WJJZ in 1995 after spending a number of years in a different type of radio. It was groundbreaking, and frankly, they're writing a lot of articles today, and I don't know if you keep up with some of that stuff, but Inside Radio is one of the articles that I read recently that mentioned that the radio audiences are still around, the ones that listen to smooth jazz JJZ, which is why we're back since 2013. We're on the iHeartRadio app, which takes you globally, which is really really great, because you can listen from anywhere, and it is a little bit better than satellite, because satellite is you have to connect with the satellite, and frankly, with the iHeartRadio app, wherever you can get cell phone service, you can get the music, which is great. People can take us along. Up here to Reading, Berks County out of Philadelphia, New York City. People travel from all over the world to come here. So I know I got off track with the question, but jazz is it's relaxation. It's people enjoy what we do, what we bring to the table.
And how has it impacted your life?
Well, it's interesting having a couple of young boys who are now older. One just celebrated his birthday on Christmas Day, and the other back in October. One is 26, the other one is 38. So they look at what I do differently. People who are my age look at me in a different light. Children, young adults, men and women, have their own what they like listening to, their brand of music, and this is for a little bit of an older audience. I would suggest 45 to 64-year-olds, maybe a little bit older.
So it's impacted your life due to your generation?
Well, I grew up through this situation, the music situation. So I've been around a lot of these folks for a very long time. Some of the artists have become friends, and I treat them as friends as opposed to artists, which is kind of interesting. Children, younger adults, have their own type of music, and so my children and young people see what I do or what we do in the radio business as different. And it afforded them a good living as they were growing up and taking them through college and all.
How about your jazz mentors? Who are they?
Actually, it's less about the music, the mentoring. I think the mentors that I had are people that are outside the music business. Like my dad was a great mentor. I had mentioned earlier on, my dad told me when I was growing up that he would get smarter as I got older, because I knew everything when I was a young man, and so he was my mentor. He knew a lot about a lot of things, and he taught me those things, and hopefully I pass that along to my children, and they will to their children.
And how about you? What is your jazz legacy?
Well, I came out of rock radio, so I was a big progressive rock guy. I was there in the beginning with Yes and Genesis and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and bands like that. And so going to smooth jazz was an interesting movement. There was a period when I wasn't in the radio business. I actually had one of the very first CD-only stores in the Philadelphia area. All we sold were CDs. That was in 1986, and I also had a fast food restaurant. But then I got back into the radio business and went to JJZ. And it was a little bit different because the people that I dealt with before, as far as artists, were really high profile. I mean, they were selling out arenas pretty regularly. Going into smooth jazz, it was more like clubs and small events. So you were able to get closer, not just me, but fans of the music were able to get closer to the artist, which I think was very beneficial to the growth of not only the format, but also festivals like the Berks Jazz Fest that started out as a weekend event with a couple of guys strumming a guitar and playing a saxophone to a full-blown over 100 different artists over 10 days. Pretty big deal.
And finally, speaking of Boscov's Berks Jazz Fest, and this is a tough one, so I don't want it to be unfair. I'm not going to say your favorite, but can you pick out one of your more memorable or more favorite highlights of this festival over the years? What's a moment?
Wow.
Yeah, not the
It's
absolute.
kind of hard because there have been so many artists that have come through here that, wow.
A memorable highlight. It doesn't have to be the absolute favorite.
Memorable highlight.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that when Nick Coleone plays here, and he's a relatively new artist to, even though he's been around for a very long time, a relatively new artist to the format, he's extremely exciting. And there's a lot of young guys that are coming up. Last year we did a show with Vincent Ingala and Michael Manson at what used to be Good Nights.
Yeah.
And at the Sheraton, which is now the Crown Plaza. You have to go through, there's a progression here. And Vincent Ingala just rocked the house. He is a sax player, but he actually pulled out a guitar during the performance and did some kind of a rockabilly thing, and it just blew me away. I had no idea. First time I'd ever seen him play the guitar. So there are guys like that, Jonathan Fritzen. Eric Darius is another young and up-and-coming artist. It's a shame that there aren't the opportunities for these younger artists that some of the older artists had over the years, the Dave Coz's, the Rick Brauns, the Peter Whites, the Larry Carltons, where there was radio backing them up. Now these guys are trying to do it on their own, and they're doing a very good job, and the music is really wonderful.
So it's the unexpected moments is what I'm hearing from you, that are the highlights, so you just go to the shows.
It's really not the, oh, I've seen that before, even though, oh yes, I've seen that before, because there's always something different. Peter White with Keiko Matsui, Huge Groove. I think they're going to be here this year in 2018 for the Boscov Berks Jazz Fest.
I think Peter and Gerald are touring together.
There's a lot of combinations of great things, and when we had WJJZ on the air, they used to come down and not only do interviews but also perform, and it was really very exciting. This type of music is just, if you come to the festival, you'll see, if you've never been here, you'll come and see the camaraderie, the friendship that everybody has, the feeling with the volunteers, becoming a big part of it. And John Ernesto, who is the general manager of the Boscov Berks Jazz Fest and has been since the very beginning, and he also makes everybody feel comfortable about coming here and enjoying a weekend or two away. Because a lot of people come for the first weekend, then they go home, they go to work for a week, and then they come up Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the closing weekend. So.
Well, Michael, you're moving in for the week, and I think the takeaway is get your tickets now for Boscov's Berks Jazz Fest, and this is your backstage pass to the stories behind the festival. Thank you so much, Michael.
You're welcome. Thank you.